This video is brought to you by Squarespace, which is actually where you can download some relevant Python code for this tutorial, but I'm going to talk about that later. You might have noticed that my tutorials are fast. That is intentional, but it would take a while to do. You have to cut out all the silences, speed it up, etc. And this is something I used to do myself a few years ago before I had the conception, oh, I can automate this. So here's how you do that. Fastest workflow I found. What I like is Recut, and this is just because it doesn't cost $70 a month like a Time Bolt. Here I have a video clip of the last time I tried to record this. You can see it's 30 minutes long, and there's a lot of sections where I'm doing nothing. I'm literally watching a YouTube video. Take the video, drag it in. It will detect silences. Red means silence. You can see during this super long segment where I'm just doing nothing, most of it is red, but there are some errors, and that is because of these settings, which we can optimize. So threshold is basically saying what is and isn't a silence. And for the minimum duration, the question is how long does a silence need to be for it to count? So as I change this, you can see how that edits. We want to get rid of audio spikes. In other words, if I just make a click sound, should that stay? I'm just going to play a little with this threshold. So already we've taken this 30-minute recording and turned it into 12 and a half. We could do even better because this doesn't consider like wrong takes and stuff like that. Here are some shortcuts. Plus, minus for zooming in, play for play. And if you hit L a few times, you can play it faster. Just want to showcase a tool. When you don't like a clip, delete it. When you don't like many clips, delete it. As you can see, I am jump cutting all over the place. So one thing I'm noticing is that there's a lot of padding. If I zoom in, you can see it kind of keeps like sections here that I don't want. So for the padding, let's make it aggressive. 0.03 by 0.03. As you can see, I am jump cutting all over the place. So if I feel like these number things are stupid, take them, delete them, boom, it's short. You do this process, you can edit faster than the video actually is significantly. So let's say that I'm done with it. I'm going to export. I'm going to call this sped up. But one thing I want you to notice is that yes, we removed the cuts, but the video itself isn't sped up, right? So the silences are gone, but I still talk at normal speed. And I want to show you the fastest way I know to speed it up without needing to open an editing program. And this is going to be using FFmpeg. And I'd be like, what is the command to make a video 1.25 times faster? Very importantly, it should correct the pitch so I don't sound like a chipmunk. The faster the encoding, the better. You can change kind of the encoding settings, how fast it will do this, at the cost of either compression, like the file size will be bigger, or slight quality loss. Okay, so I'm going to take this command, I'm going to copy it, and assuming you have FFmpeg, and you have it in your system path, environment variables, if you go to path, you go to edit, you have FFmpeg somewhere in there, here's mine. Then, what will happen is when you open command prompt and you go to FFmpeg, it will tell you that it has a FFmpeg without saying, what is that? I'm going to paste this command, copy this path, so I'm going to change input.mp4, the video I'm starting with, to this, and then for the output, I could do the same thing, so I'm going to paste the same kind of thing, but I'm going to rename sped up to output so it doesn't overwrite it. If you have a GPU, you could use hardware encoding, but to me, this is fine. Enter, and it's going to start encoding. The number you care about is the speed. So this is saying it's doing this encoding 20 times faster than the video. So if it was 20 minutes long, it would take just a minute to do. Okay, so it finished in, I don't even know how long. Either way, now I look at the output. Now it's 9.5 minutes, which makes sense because if I take 12.5 minutes, divide by 1.25, you get roughly 10 minutes. So all of a sudden, I've like basically automated this editing process. Now, it's also possible to do the recut thing also with Python. Here I have some code that will do that, at least semi-reliably. I'm going to tell Python to use this code. I'm going to make this available. It's kind of like demo version available on the Patreon, but more importantly, my website. Patreon takes a cut, and if you want to support a creator, giving money to Patreon to just host files is nonsense. So I'm going to use this Python file. It's going to ask me the same questions, right? I'm going to use the sped up video. How fast do you want it to be? This tends to be a bit glitchy, so I'm going to keep it at real time. How short should a silence be to count as a silence? 0.25, audio peak, and then what is considered background versus not background. If you make this like 0 or 1, it's going to be very aggressive, whereas the more lenient you make it, well, the more lenient it's going to be. So you can see as this runs, it's going to make a processed audio file that's normalized and denoised, and then it's going to write this file right here that will detect all the speaking segments, and then it will basically cut and restitch the video. Okay, so it finished that in exactly like 1 minute and 9 seconds, which I think is much faster than Recut. Again, the detection doesn't take long, it's the cutting and restitching that takes some time. As you can see, I am jump cutting all over this is relevant. Okay, so the cuts aren't as like fancy with the padding and all that, but it does work and it's much faster. And I just want to explain how this works in case you want the Python code. The question is, what is a silence? And it's going to use this RMS value. This means root mean square, which is perceived loudness. Basically, it looks at the audio and says, what is considered loud versus not loud? If I subtract 5, so I say go even lower, then for sure that's background noise, right? And this is something you can measure. Pick like an audio file. You go to analyze, you go to measure RMS, and it will give you a number, like negative something it tends to be. Additionally, it does high and low pass, so it cuts off frequencies that aren't in the vocal range, which makes sense, because if you look at this spectrogram, you can see like things above 10,000, it's not human speech anymore. In fact, that is background buzz, and down here below 100 is background hum. That is how I make and edit my videos incredibly quickly. Hopefully that helps somebody. And speaking of fast, this tutorial is sponsored by Squarespace, which is a service that lets you make websites incredibly quickly. That's what I use. In fact, I've overhauled cgmatter.com Patreon.com recently to include memberships and stuff like this because I'm trying to pivot from Patreon. So here are 3 things I find useful, you may find useful. First is analytics, so you know who is going to your website, but also monetary information. How many people subscribe, how many people go to a digital product, etc. Second of all, there's an asset library that you can use for storage, whether it be audio, video, pictures, and third of all, they handle the monetary stuff. Again, I'm trying to do a membership thing on my platform, so like recurring payments and making sure that it's available on PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, whatever else. It's great that they handle it on their end. So you can check out my website as an example, and you can head over to squarespace.com to make your own website. And when you are ready to take that website and launch it, make it live, you can save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain by clicking the link below.